Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone is doing well. Today I have 4 Reddit stories for you guys. All credit goes to the original posters, and I will link the stories in my description. Intruder sent free. So this happened today, a year ago. Female 16 at the time. Keep in mind I live in South Africa where the crime rate is high, but the area where I live is mostly safe. Brought up, I was taught to always keep the doors and windows locked when home alone. I came home from writing an exam earlier that day and wanted to take a nap. I made sure all of the doors and windows were locked before taking my nap. Usually if I took a nap, I left my door open in my bedroom, but on this specific day, I closed my door for some reason. While I was asleep, my body started shaking, like I was having a panic attack, but in my sleep. Still half asleep, I started hearing noises in the house. I looked at my phone to see what time it was, since I thought maybe it was my parents who came home early. I went out of my room, and as I turned left, there was a homeless guy rummaging through the closet of the other room. The room was right next to mine. Being still half asleep and witnessing a literal burglary, my mind went blank. The guy came up to me and put a knife against my throat, demanding me to give him money or he'll unalive me. Crying hysterically, begging him to not hurt me, he saw my phone in my pocket and demanded me to give it to him. I went from being scared to mad, and I refused to give my phone to him. I know I should have probably gave my phone to him, but this was the only expensive thing I've got, and knew my parents couldn't afford to get me a new one. I started fighting back, and the more I refused to give my phone, the more he started pushing me back. I ended up in the bathroom, right across the room. He pushed me into the bathtub and got over me. Right in that moment, I thought that would be the end of me. I yelled at him that I've already called the police and that they're on the way. That wasn't true. After I said that, he closed the bathroom door and ran off. I then called the police and parents, etc. The police came and found the knife he held against my neck outside the house and discovered that he broke the door down. That's how he entered the house. In April this year, 5 months after the incident, they found the guy and saw that he has been in jail for burglary over 10 times. But every time they let him out after a few months, typical for South Africa. But I was the first instance for attempted murder. I was going to go to court to give my testimony, but the police said the chances of him going to jail for a few years were slim, and I'm going to waste my time by testifying. We tried to argue that he should go to jail, but it didn't help. He was released despite his charges. Later on, we found out his brother is a policeman, and that's most likely how he got away with everything. I can't sleep at night knowing he has been released, and if that was the situation, that his brother helped him by getting out, he now has all my information and knows where I live. I hope to never encounter him again. The time I jumped out a car. I found this Reddit community, and I just had to share an experience I had that was terrifying at the time. When I was 12, maybe a little older, I was waiting for my ride after school one day when this big white family van pulls up in front of me and asks if I'm waiting for my ride. My family had a van just like this one, so it wasn't suspicious or anything to me. But I was dumb and didn't register that, yeah, I am. And he was asking an obvious question because here I am sitting outside the school by myself, but I answered anyways, and then he asked what my name was and I hesitated, but he explained that he was looking for someone, so I gave it. I told him my name was Thea, and he said, "Oh, so it is you. Your mom asked me to come pick you up from school." He then introduces himself as Sam, my mom's nephew, and I have never really met my mom's family, so I was none the wiser. Eager to get home and out of the cold, I didn't question him much, even though I was skeptical. I just jumped in the car, and thinking back on it now, I realized how dumb I was and how lucky I was to get away. I got in and we started driving towards the opposite direction of my house. At first I thought no big deal of it because there was a route way to my place, but it was just farther. But soon we were passing that route too, and out of nowhere I realized we were on the motorway. Now all traces of tiredness had left me and I was on the edge of tears. I asked him if he could please take me home and that if my mom sent him, then he should know I'm not really allowed to go out after school, but he just kept ignoring me. At this point, I was officially bawling my eyes out, and cars that were passing us on the motorway or standing next to us in traffic were starting to stare. At one point, I was crying so much he slammed his hands on the steering wheel and started mumbling how this would be easier for both of us if I would just shut up. But now I wasn't thinking straight, and I knew that anything would be better than making it to wherever he was taking me. So the next time the car slowed down, I unlocked the door and jumped out. In all honesty, I wasn't thinking at all, because if I thought about it, I would have chickened out, and for once I thank God that I didn't. I hit the ground and landed on my left leg. The pain was so bad, but I didn't care because in my head, anything was better than being in that car. The dude didn't even bat an eye. I feel like in the chaos, I seen him try and grab me, but once I was outside, he just sped away, and the driver that almost hit me, but stopped just in time, got out and ran towards me. The police were called and my parents as well, but to this day I am not allowed to wait outside anywhere, and even before I'm done with whatever I'm doing, my parents will be outside waiting. So to Sam, the stranger, let's not meet ever again. I was stalked and nearly kidnapped at 13 years old. I was always an extremely small and sickly child. I looked young for my age. My family and I lived out of town about 8 miles out. Our little community was next to a highway. The school bus would drop me off 2 blocks away from home. One day I noticed a red truck following slowly behind me, so slow that I figured they were just looking for a house or something. I ignored it and walked to my house. That was the end of that. Consistently, this truck would follow slowly behind me. After a couple of days of this, I walked into my house. I was always the first one home and looked out the window. Inside was an older man and a black lab. He was staring at me, idling inside his truck. Then he pulled away. I decided enough was enough. I told my parents. Of course, my sister was quick to jump in that I was lying. I had a habit of telling stories. But my mom thankfully believed me. She drove me to the bus stop the next morning. The truck was there, across the street at the gas station, pointing toward the bus. I got on the bus and my mom decided to drive around the truck. She described the scene. The man was disheveled and dirty, hunched over in his seat, just staring at the bus. His license plates were caked in mud, so she couldn't make them out. It freaked her out so much she called the police and the school. I went to school and was quickly pulled into the office. The man had been spotted at the school waiting in his truck. That day I rode the bus home. This time the truck was parked alongside the street. I would have to walk past this man's driver's side door to get home. I debated, considering running for it. Apparently this man was getting desperate now, and he was spotted. A police car showed up and I talked to the policeman. They went to go talk to the man. He quickly pulled away from the curb and took off down the highway. Never saw him again, and I don't believe he was ever caught. Because of this experience, I'm extremely guarded and paranoid with my own daughter and her soon-to-be sibling. The world is a terrifying place these days, and children go missing so easily. I don't like to think about it. If I had been grabbed, I wouldn't be here typing this. My kids wouldn't exist. I was lucky. Many children aren't. So stranger with ill intentions, let's not meet. House sitting last spring. Friends went to Mexico for vacation and asked me to house sit and take care of their dogs while they were gone. They pay me $40 a day just to sit around and let the dogs out when they need to go. I am disabled, so that helps a lot. This is a semi-rural area and houses are roughly a quarter mile apart, Police have to come from town 15 miles away, and response time can be well over an hour. I always take my pistol with me. It's always been quiet when I've stayed there. This time was different. I was in the shower when the dogs started barking and growling. They are big, large German shepherds, and one is actually police trained. The owners loan him to county as a drug dog, and if you tell them to be quiet, they obey. This time they didn't, so I went on high alert. I shut off the water and looked out the window. I didn't see anything, but when I walked out of the bathroom, I saw a shadow go across the bedroom window. They have lights around the house that stay on all night. I whispered to the dogs to hush, and they did. That's when I heard a man's voice. I couldn't make out everything he was saying, but I distinctly heard 2 words, "Come around." So I am sure there was more than one person. I ran into the living room with my pistol and saw the door handle turn. I yelled, "I have a gun and I will fucking use it." I heard feet run away. I tell Siri to dial 911 and got the county sheriff fast. She said there were 2 cars on another call not far away, but it would take about 20 minutes for them to get there. That's better than the usual hour, but I was pretty shaken. I explained that I was on a farm and would have to go down to the road to unlock a cattle gate to let them in, and to please tell the officers that I would be carrying a pistol and please don't shoot me by mistake because I was not going outside the house without it. The dispatcher said, "Oh no, do not go out there without your gun. I will tell them." The one good thing about living in a red state, she asked if I could see the road, and I can. So she said to wait in the house until I saw blue lights. I hung up and called my friends in Mexico. Their camera footage can be downloaded via app, and they said they would go through it while I waited for the cops. I locked the house and went down to the gate when the police arrived. They searched the whole place, including the barn, but didn't find anyone. While they were looking, my friends texted me the camera footage. There was a man on the porch. Unfortunately, the cameras were not angled to get a shot of his face, and it was, of course, dark. I still think there was more than one creep because of what he said, "Come around." The police were very nice and said they had passed a man on a bike on the way, which is strange for this area, especially at night, and went to look for him, but that's all they could do. They took a full report, but never caught the creep. My husband came and stayed with me rest of their trip. One of their neighbors said he found a tent and some gear in the woods a few weeks before, so somebody was living back there, maybe a homeless person from town. I have house sat again since then, and it was quiet. They were going away again for Christmas, and I will be there again. A lot of people ask me if I would have shot the creep had he broken in. Yeah, absolutely. I would be sorry I had to hurt somebody, but if it's them or me, yeah. Creepy porch guy, let's never meet again. Thank you for listening. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing and liking my channel, and I will see you on the next one.